now we're streaming live. Okay.
Oh, man, something's wrong with their
Call it to order.
connection.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 4:04 p.m. First item would be approval of the minutes from the July 7th meeting. They were sent out today from Roger
And I
in the
did send,
updated package.
Paul, I did send a revision minutes ago. Glenda caught a problem with the minutes and I corrected it. I sent it out about 15 minutes ago and it has the correction highlighted in.
Okay. What was the highlight in that one?
It was
At the
sent out
bottom.
40.
Oh, I got, I'm using two computers, so one of them I can't pull it up on.
Yeah, the minutes that got revised say revised in the file name.
Okay, but what's the difference between that and the one that went out earlier today?
It's just, had to do with the Travis subdivision utilities. And where you made a motion to accept the utilities within the water and sewer network. And then I think Bill Cunneke seconded it, and there were some missing words in there and I corrected them. I put those words in there.
Okay, I see where the difference, or I see where it is on the original.
Yeah. So I just filled in the blank and said Calvert City Water and Sewer Utilities. And I had you made the motion, and then I said Mr. Cunneke seconded it, I think, if I'm remembering right.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted by Roger 15 minutes ago?
So moved. Bill.
Second by Steve.
Okay, minutes, motion made by Bill, seconded by Steve. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Did we lose Donna?
I'm not hearing. You're freezing up. I didn't even hear all of this about the minutes. I had a question and I think you all answered it, but I never did hear it.
Hey, Donna, I sent another email out a few minutes ago. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, at about 3:40 or so, and there was a file name, a Word file that was emailed that had a revision in it. Glenda had caught that. There was some missing words out of a sentence. And I put the words in there. It had to do with the Travis subdivision utilities down in the minutes. You would see some missing words, and then in the revised version, I highlighted the language that I put in there.
Did you hear that, Donna?
No, I did not.
Okay.
You're freezing. Bill's frozen. And
Yeah, I'm getting a message on yours that says you've got some low bandwidth. What it was, can you hear me now?
I can now.
Okay, Roger had submitted some revised minutes. And in the Travis subdivision section, Glenda had added some new words that
Okay.
were omitted originally.
I had a question about that.
Okay,
And because it just stopped with N2 and then it said seconded by Mr. Cunneke. And my question was, what should have been there? And you all have answered.
Donna, can you hear me, Donna?
Yes.
Okay, so I did put in there, that's where we fixed it. So I'm gonna
Okay.
read you what it says now. It says, Mr. Ambler made the motion to accept Travis subdivision utilities into the Calvert City water and sewer system, period. The motion was seconded by Mr. Cunningham.
Okay.
So I've got that fixed, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back, Bill. We got a motion to accept the minutes as submitted. Bill?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm so move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Steve.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion accepted. Okay, next one is the review of the financial statements in the dashboard. Roger?
So everybody should have their package and the financials are in there. And so I'll just go through those briefly. This is the first month of the new fiscal year. I would just tell you that some of the expenses that we would normally incur in a monthly period of time don't show up in this report because we didn't accrue them during this month. We did have some show up and they've been paid in August, but there weren't many June that were paid in July. So I said so that's why this report looks like it is, but I'll just kind of go through there real quick. You can see that on the water system, the total revenues for the month were slightly less than the projected revenues for the month. But considering what we've got going on, probably not out of range too bad. Correspondingly, the total expenses on the water side for the month were almost the same magnitude less as what the revenues were. So they kind of balanced out. On the water side of things, we're showing a net income of about $13,000 for the month. And looking at some of the expense side, the only thing that kind of popped out over what was budgeted, we had some maintenance issues on the water side of things that hit us unexpectedly. So we expended more for the month on maintenance on the water side than we did than we budgeted. On the sewer side, the revenues for the month were actually more than what were projected. Maybe again related to the COVID thing. On the expense side, the expenses were significantly less than what was projected there, and nothing on any individual cost center appeared to be out of line. So that all looked pretty good. The sewer system actually with a net revenue of $7,500. So on a combined basis, we were about $20,000 on a net income for the month. Looking at flow trends, we sold about 33.8 million gallons for the month, and you can see there on the chart where loss on a 12-month moving average was about 13%. On the sewer side of things, it's been relatively dry. It really hasn't been, but we built about 5.73 MTD and we 5.73 million gallons, I'm sorry, and then we treated somewhere around 7.6 million gallons, and that's showing about 1.9 million gallons of infiltration inflow, which is not terrible. Our treatment plant's been working very good. We were in full compliance with our limits for the month, so that was a good thing. Down on the service order end of things, you can see we repaired several service lines during the month, 13 leaks on service line, replaced 2 meters, put 2 new services in, only had 3 finals out. Rest of the things pretty standard there. The number of minimum bills for this month were down to 479. We've been seeing a lot of months where they were running about 600. So total active account right now 1,606. And so we'll go over, let me talk about the tri-balance real quickly. So the cash in the bank, Last year, this period of time, cash in the bank was $807,000. And it right now, as 7/1/2020, it's $943,000 plus or minus. So in a little bit better cash position, but we do need to start thinking about returning some of the money that we had taken out of the funds from the general fund. That's going to have to be balanced with what capital needs that we're going to have here coming down. And I've got a few of those we'll talk about later on. But if anybody's got any questions about the financials, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay, so we move on to the next item then.
Hey, Paul, I would like to, let me interject something real quick. We've got two of the engineers on the line
Oh, okay.
for the wastewater plant. If you don't mind, can we slip in an item real quick and let them update us on the status of their work on the preliminary engineering plan? And then we've got one property issue that we're working on. I wanted to make the board aware of that. It won't take but just a minute.
No problem.
So Chad McCann and Brian Giltner, are you on the line?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. So I want you guys to update the board on what you're doing, where you're at, and what your tentative timeline is. I know we've got a couple of things we've got to address to get you moving, but if you don't mind, just a quick overview.
All right. This is Chad McCann. Good afternoon to y'all. Very quickly, where we're at with the project, we are at the point where we've completed what we call the preliminary engineering study for the project. And the primary focus of that preliminary engineering study was to look at some different pros and cons for siting the new influent lift station and headworks at the treatment plant. Looking at sites, one of them close to the existing headworks near the railroad tracks, and the second site being right up there inside the perimeter fence at the treatment plant next to the lagoon site. So we've evaluated those and looked at a number of options. Like I said, pros and cons for pumping and screening the wastewater flow into the treatment plant. And based on that evaluation, we had a meeting with the city, coupled with Roger and his operational staff a couple weeks ago. And we've pretty well honed in where we want to be with the site. And the consensus was to look at the site adjacent to the railroad tracks over there next to the existing headworks. That does, as Roger mentioned, come with a property item that we're looking into as far as a property ownership. At one time, that property was owned by the railroad. They since have sold that property. And right now we're trying to track down the exact owner. We do believe, based on the research we've done, it most likely is city-owned property, but we're trying to track that down before we get further into the design process and expend any funds onto a railroad site that we may or may not want to be on. So that's kind of where we're at right now with the study. We have put together some cost estimates that we have reviewed with Roger and his staff, looking at options. The total budget for the project that we've looked at for the wastewater treatment plant improvements is right around $2.9 million. And right now at this time, the preliminary engineering study that we looked at the headworks and the lift station, that encompasses approximately in the $1.7 to $1.8 million range out of that $2.9 million budget. So that's our primary focus since we started work on this a couple months ago. Right now, our plans are, assuming we can get some resolution on this property pretty quick, we estimate probably about a month's worth of work to take it from where we are now into the preliminary engineering design phase. And from there, we'll work with the operations staff to fine tune some of the details on the lift station and the headworks, decide what type of screens, and start looking at some of the other improvements to the effluent lift station, which would pump to the river, and also move in and start looking at some of the liner improvements at the other two lagoons that weren't addressed last year. Lagoon improvements project and liner improvements project.
Okay, that's,
If y'all couldn't hear me there, just feel free to ask any questions.
So, I've spoken with Greg, Chad, about the property issue and we'll get a little deeper into that here in the next day or so. We'll probably get back in contact with you on that. So that issue, we'll try to resolve it pretty quickly. One of the things that, I think we've talked about the project over and over again for several months, and one of the things I'd just like to remind the board, what is it we're doing and why we're doing it. Because it's one of those deals we're under an agreed order with the Department of Environmental Protection to get ourselves into compliance with all provisions of our KPDS permit. And we've rehabbed most of the wastewater plant. There's still some things that are left to do that are in this project. But the most important thing is we have an influent lift station that's 30 years old, and we continue to have sanitary sewer overflows pretty frequently. And the reliability of that lift station is getting questionable, and that's probably the main element of the project is we're going to replace that. But the design that we're coming up with is a high flow, low flow design, and it's probably going to be a lot more energy efficient than the existing installation is said and done. But we are in need of replacing the existing lift stations, getting the word it's no longer reliable. With that, we're going to put a headworks system in too. Right now, our headworks, we got grinder, and it's been a maintenance liability for a long time. We want to try to remove that material from the waste stream before it ever gets into the treatment plant. One of the things we found when we were dredging the sludge had a lot of rags, a lot of inert materials in it, and somewhat affects your ability for reuse of that material. We want to get that sludge where we can reuse it in a more productive manner and not have to landfill it at $30 a ton. So that's really one of the purposes of the screen to help us, benefit from that standpoint. But those are kind of where we're at. We're on a timeline too. I think, Chad, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're trying to get where we can procure bids for construction sometime in early spring of 2021. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So and then we would try to build this thing during the construction year of 2021 and try to wrap it up sometime in 2022, and that would meet back plan requirements. So a lot of money, no doubt about it, $2.8 million, but a very low interest rate, 1.5%. Once that's done, once the residuals disposed of, the community with some maintenance should be well suited for the next 30 years, in terms of a wastewater plant. I would remind you that Kentucky Dam Village State Resort Park is still interested in connecting the system. If we can get an agreement with that, that would generate another $100,000 a year income through our system, which would help offset some of that other charge. And so we're looking at some other growth measures, to help us in that respect. But work we've done so far has been very good. We're getting to the point that we're regularly complying with the permit requirements. Our parasitic acid going well, and so we're happy with what we got to work with. We think this component, and then maybe some sewer rehabs on down the line, and several years to come, that we should be in pretty good shape with wastewater. If there's any questions, Chad or I can answer them. If not, you guys can cut out. We'll continue on.
All right. Yeah. The only other comment I wanted to add, just to piggyback off of what Roger was saying, the capacity of the lift station currently, they're running around 3,000 gallons a minute is the number that we're hearing from the operations staff right now. The designs that we're looking for is going to add about 1 million gallons a day capacity to that influent lift station system. So that ability to move that water from the head of the plant and keep it out of the collection system, will resolve a lot of those issues that we're having with the sewer overflow backups, back in town. So with a main goal and intent there to get all that water to the plant where it can be handled and processed in the lagoon, which handles those high flows very well. That's one of the primary focuses here. And also the disinfection system, the peracetic acid system that Roger mentioned, we did get that issued for a permit at the Division of Water to comply with the temporary study that the pilot study that Division of Water allowed the city to go into. So that is being reviewed right now in Frankfurt, and that should be here back by the end of this month on the approval of that system to move forward.
Any questions? Can everybody hear us?
Yep.
Yes,
I'm with you.
All right, good. So if there's no questions, we can move on. And Chad and Brian, we appreciate you and keep up the good work. We'll move on and try to move this project forward. That's
All right.
okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Paul, I guess we can go back to the agenda now. I'm sorry I did that. I want to get them out.
Yeah, right. That's good. The next item was the water meter and water meter reading equipment bids.
Yeah. So we did open bids up yesterday and we had a lot of interest in preparing the request for bids. I had some flexibility written into the bid specs. And I gave you a copy of the bid tabs for you to review. And what I would like to do is probably delay action on the actual acceptance of the bid until September meeting to give us, I have not had time for the staff to sit down and look at this. There was, we have an Itron automated meter reading system right now, and they gave us a bid and it was a good bid, but there was another one in there I wanted to look at pretty closely. That was a bid from Mueller Systems. And I think it'd be worthwhile for us to take a little time, review that, and then come back to the board with a more comprehensive overview of what we got here and what a recommendation. The good news is the bids that we got are within what I've been talking with the funding agencies about funding. So that's a good thing. I think right now, even if we went with the Itron with the extra stuff with it, we'd be like 405,000. I've been talking to funding agencies about 450,000.
was, and now I can't.
If the Mueller bid shook out and looked pretty good, it might be we could save some more. So let me take a look at it. We'll come back to the board next meeting. Reality of it is we're probably not ready to start installing. We got a lot of work backed up on us this next month. We're pretty much, our maintenance people are pretty much spoken for. So.
Do you have any literature out there on the comparison for the board on ultrasonic and positive displacement? Because I noticed here the two highlighted items.
Yeah.
One's an ultrasonic and one's in positive displacement. They're the two lowest in each category, but they're not the two lowest.
No, and I do have some information that I can share with the board. I mean, I think probably it would be appropriate I might send you the PDFs of the RFP and then send you the manufacturer literature. I had them include with their bid manufacturer literature on all of that. So the main difference between ultrasonic and the positive displacement is that the ultrasonic has no moving parts. So, the claim to fame for the ultrasonic meter is a longer life. Problem with the ultrasonic though is the battery life. Once the battery's bad in them, most of the meters have to be replaced, basically. At least that's what I understand. So, as a rule of thumb right now, people will tell you that their value of the ultrasonic meters at about a 20-year life. And then the positive displacement meters are usually accepted to have a life between 10 and 15 years. That's the big difference. Accuracy wise, some of the ultrasonic meters will measure very, very low flow. The positive displacement meters are pretty good with that too, though. And, there, amongst the industry, I would just tell you, there's a mixed bag of feeling on whether the return on investment is justified for the ultrasonic meter or not. Now, leading up to this procurement, we've got both types of meters in our system. The last two jobs that we've done to replace water lines out in the height, we put the Camstruck ultrasonics in. We haven't had any trouble with them. They've been very good. And we haven't had any trouble with the Mueller positive displacements that went in on Elm Street and Elder Street either. So we've had good experience with both of them. We've had good experience with our Itron system. We've only had maybe less than 5 modules bad on 300 settings, with our Itron electronic reading system. So felt like we got some pretty good experience with that. What I would try to do, Paul, is in a memo to the board next time around, is try to address the return on investment. You got with the metering, you got two things really. You got meter life, but then you got accuracy too. The more accurate the meter is, the more you're going to improve your revenues. And we saw that when we put the big meters in, and hopefully we're going to see a similar result here. We just discussed our water losses on the 12-month moving average basis was running around 13%. I'm pretty sure a certain component of that's related to metering and missed flow that we're not measuring right now. I just don't know exactly how much of that. So,
Okay, so how many meters is this for each bid?
well, there was about 1,400 meters, I think.
Okay, that's what I thought, around there.
Like that. The rest of them, we had been covered through the previous projects. I don't plan on replacing those. We've been testing those large Neptune meters, and they've been falling within the required parameter. And in the Heights area, I wouldn't replace them. They would just go up.
Okay, so that's tabled for right now.
Yeah, that's what I would ask, and then we'll come back next board meeting with a memo, technical memo, and a recommendation.
Okay, is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next item was the KRWA voting delegate authorization.
Okay, so but last month we did approve proceeding on with an application with the Kentucky Rural Water Finance Corporation, and I proceeded on. We prepared an application for that. There's a resolution that will have to be read by the city council that we would propose to send to them for their regular scheduled meeting here in August, next Monday. And before I did that, I wanted to make sure that the board was okay with that. As you recall, on that deal, back up on my notes here, but when I was in discussions with the Rural Water Finance Corporation, I told them that we were looking at applying $450,000 towards construction. And so they've got a bond pool deal that they do, an interim financing program. The rate on that is roughly 2% on the money. We could borrow it on a 5-year term. Now, there are some administrative costs, things that go along with it. Ultimately, our cost on the principal side of things, $470,000. They got issuance costs and then under audit discount and some other things to go on with there. But total interest and principal payments over a 5-year term would be about $498,000. I thought it was pretty attractive, not a lot of strings attached to it. It's something pretty straightforward that we can tap into, do the meter deal. I talked to the mayor about the $4 per customer charge. He didn't see a problem with it. Way I understand it, you're in an election year, but the only people running are the council members that we have right now. They were the ones that already had committed to this $4 per customer charge. So I would just like for the board to weigh in, whether it's a, Greg, you may know whether or not they need to, the council will need to pass a resolution. Because the council.
They will. Did, is this resolution form what was provided by the lender, by Kentucky Rural Water?
Yes, yes.
Okay. It just, it didn't have much in the way of, it referenced an assistance agreement, but I haven't seen an assistance agreement in it. So I didn't have any rates or terms. Is there an existing agreement that has, like the repayment period and the rates and all the terms of the loan?
I believe there's a draft, Greg, and I can provide that to you, and you could weigh in on that before the council meeting if the board desires to proceed on with. It's probably
Yeah,
very
if you-
in the way it's written up.
Yeah, if you could get me a copy of that, because I feel like the council's probably going to ask me those questions, and I
Yeah,
don't know, I don't have any.
So Roger, does that cover that item 10, electronic payment implementation?
no, not this item. No, that's something else. I just
Okay,
wanted to.
okay, well, we'll get back to that then. Okay, number 7, the property acquisition in the Johnson subdivision.
Okay. During the last meeting, somebody asked me about an update on that acquisition process. Of course, I'd met with Miss Brewer, that's the widow of Joe Brock Brewer, and gave her the offer that we had discussed in executive session, and I had recontacted her here recently, and she's still considering the offer. She hadn't had a time to make a final decision on it with all this COVID-19 stuff. What she told me, and I said, "Offer's on the table, Miss Brewer. I'd like to talk to you more about it, and if you give us an answer, yay or nay, or counter offer or something." And she said she'd think about it and get back with us here on it. The other property owner involved with it is that she's wanting to sell her property pretty badly right now. And that's the 2 lots that were adjacent to this Brewer track. And my guys tell me we need those as well to be able to get in and out of there. And if you recall, we had an appraisal done on those. I think we had tentatively decided that we would wait though to see what Ms. Brewer was going to do before we tendered our offer to her. I guess what I was going to ask the board tonight, if you would be interested in just entertaining, making an offer to Miss Nichols on the property. I think that the appraised value of the property, where they were showing an elevated figure that I wouldn't be willing to give. I don't think the board would. I think we talked about it, but we did mention that, a number in there somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 for each of the lots, possibly to acquire that. If the board so wanted to move towards that direction, we could entertain maybe making that offer. I would say this is that, we're buying that crane truck, and I think that's going to help us in being able to pull those pumps better than we have historically. The crane that we're buying here may allow us to stretch out over the lift station and get those pumps out a lot better. So I don't know until we get it here. It's got a 15-foot reach. I'm thinking it would, but
When do you think we'll get that truck in?
September.
Do we want to hold off on action then on acquiring property until we can actually see that thing work?
That would be the most conservative way of dealing with it, because it may be that we'd be able to get it without even getting up on that property. But right now, I will tell you that we are, in order to pull those pumps, we are getting on Miss Nichols' property. And then I think probably are encroaching on Miss Brewer's property too.
Yeah,
And
I would
what-
go, personally, I would wait till September, just have and then get what we need.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my answer back to Miss Nichols is, Miss Brewer is still considering the offer. We're gonna wait until we hear something back from her, and then we'll be meeting again in September. Maybe discuss. That's okay. But
Everyone okay?
that's where we're at.
I'm good.
Reality that,
Back.
the reality is that property, the ground line about 4 foot below the 100-year floodplain. So it's really not working. It's just.
Okay.
Put a houseboat.
Anyone else have any other comments?
It's got a question, by backfilling though, we would completely guarantee our access to that interflood, right?
We'd improve it, yeah, by being able to build a better, longer ramp. Yeah.
Okay, item 8, the SCADA system.
Okay, this is item, we budgeted this year to make some improvements on the SCADA system. And it looks like we're going to proceed on pretty quick. We've had some major issues with our radio this past week. Back, I think beginning Thursday last week, we had to shift over to a 24/7 shift at the plant, keep operators down there because we lost communication. Just today, we've got the system repaired. It's not totally glitch free. The problem that we've got with our SCADA system is most of the hardware is no longer supported. It's in excess of 10 years old. So I'll be meeting next week with probably Apex Engineering to discuss the best way to address the replacement, at least at the satellite points, and keep our processors within the plants. Our main processors are 9030s, but they got replaced in 2013 and 2014 when we upgraded the controls at the water plant and the wastewater. So we may have some extra life, but like the elevated storage tank, the wells, and the influent lift station, which that's going to be replaced part of that other project, those endpoints are getting old and they're no longer supported. So, Paul, as you know, GE got bought by Emerson. Do you guys use Emerson or Lubrizol?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's who's got them now. I mean, I love GE equipment. We've had good service out of it. Right now, we're having problems with our data link radios, and I'd really just think it's because they're getting old and antiquated, and those things are on a spread spectrum because we're not licensed. They've got a certain band they can search for on them, and I think we're having problems with that, with them moving frequency back and forth. I don't think they're functioning right. So.
Okay, so you said the stuff's Emerson.
It's GE, but Emerson bought them.
Okay, you might want to check with Experitech
Okay.
up by 5 Star, because they're a Emerson local business partner for process equipment.
You got a contact
Um,
that you can.
yeah, remind me tomorrow, just shoot me an email for work and I'll reply back. Yeah, because we have a local rep, he's at our place all the time.
Okay.
And then, but they have a local office, but they're out of St. Louis and Memphis.
Okay. Everybody I talk to say Emerson's got some great equipment, so it's in our cap. We budgeted $105,000 for those satellite endpoints, and I'd like to think we could do that. So
Yeah, because they're
they don't.
do we deal with Rosemont? instruments at all?
We got some Rosemount stuff.
Okay.
They're not the only ones. I mean, we like it, but you know, at Rosemount's usually a time and a half the cost of everything else.
Yeah, see, they're Emerson too.
Yeah, I knew they had got acquired, yeah. If anybody's got any questions, I would just tell you that when you look at overtime costs, that bit us this last week, pretty good. So we had a lot of overtime, but we had to keep on making water. I didn't want to risk any running out of water scenarios or anything like that. Silas did good staying on it, so we got through it okay, I think, so.
Okay, any other questions? Item 9, wellfield expansion.
So we got our permit. This is another project that we have budgeted funds for this next year, and we did get our permit to extend our transmission main over there. Virtually got our permit for our water withdrawal deal. So we'll be proceeding on with those too as well. Those capital projects to deal with that. You know, if you remember on that, we're going to extend that 16-inch main across the road across Long Valley Road from the north side to the south side, and then we're going to go down to the east on the back side of what used to be the Martin property line, and it's now the Wilson property line, and go over there and pick up that well number 6 and put it in the system. We tested it, and we should be good to go on it. So that's another 1,000 gallon a minute well. That, you know, you guys heard last month about the transmission main, finding the problem of being able to move a lot more water through when need be now. So that's a good thing. That's a problem we've been fighting for a long time, and we're going to be in better shape on that. One thing I would mention about the well field property owner out there, Wilson, has the house. It used to be Norma Martin's daughter's house. Wilson family in there. They started to build a horse barn. They started fencing some stuff, and my guys say, "Hey, dude, they're all over us." And so I ordered a survey, the boundary survey, and that's just been completed. And they have indeed encroached on us. And I will be sending them a letter telling them that they need to remove their encroachments off the city properties. Or Greg will be sending them one. He's trying to find something to do. So. Anyway, that's that deal. You may hear from him on that. I personally felt like he knew where his property lines are, and he was pushing to see where he could get away. No big deal.
Is there like a 10-foot that they have to be off the property line or something? Or can they build right up to it?
In the county, I don't think there's any setbacks, and I don't think there's anything there. He built this barn for this horse. The barn's all on our property, and where they had started fencing was on our property as well. And it's just a bad idea to even have a horse out there. You know, from a wellhead protection part, that's not a real big issue for me. I don't see that as a real threat, but there's not enough property to keep them. They were gonna put one in there, thoroughbred. So. One of them wild thoroughbreds in the little old 1 acre deal. So if you hear something from Mr. Wilson, you'll know what he's mad about.
Okay. Electronic payments.
So status of electronic payment, we're at the point where we're trying to get some agreements there, and Greg may want to weigh in on this, but there was some concern about some language in the agreement they were asking us to say. Greg asked their attorneys to respond to a question he had. I don't know if they got back to him yet or not, but they will this week. Greg,
You were breaking up so much, Roger. Say that again.
Did,
Who is it we're talking about?
did Next Bill contact you today?
No, they didn't. I sent them an email explaining let me just explain to you guys my concern. In the big picture is Next Bill Pay only wants to be liable for indemnification to us in the event they are willfully, in the event of a willful wrongdoing or a negligent situation. Well, my concern is Next Bill Pay has confidential information of a lot of cities, of a lot of people. They're a lot bigger player than Calvert City is. So that makes them a lot more attractive as a victim for wrongdoers that are going to hack or try to collect and misuse confidential information. And if we were to have a release of, and frankly, confidential information is names and addresses. It doesn't take much to constitute confidential information. And if we did suffer a release or a potential release because Next Bill Pay, somebody hacked into Next Bill Pay's archives and might have gotten our customers' information, we immediately have a pretty sizable responsibility for notifying everybody, all of our customers, of that potential loss. And if there in fact is any misuse of the information, we're going to get named in the lawsuit. And so I would like if Next Bill Pay is going to do this, if they are the route by which our information is taken, I would like for them to assume responsibility for that. But at least their initial documents that they have sent to us have said they're not going to assume responsibility for that unless they are found to be negligent or guilty of willful wrongdoing. And if that's their position, then we may have to make a decision on that basis. But this electronic disclosure of electronically held confidential information has gotten to be a pretty big and a pretty expensive risk. So anyway, I've explained that to them by email memo, and I'm waiting for them to either respond or have their attorney respond to me. So that's where we are.
I think, Greg, I talked to them today and they will get with you this week. And one of the things I asked them to center up on, and I told them, I said, we're not in your business and we really don't understand exactly what information you're handling of ours. So I will say that the information that they are accessing from us is very limited in nature, and that would only be probably an account number with nothing else between it. But that I told them, I said, that's the thing that you're going to have to discuss, with us is, what is it you're handling? Because they are a third-party vendor, and that's why all the utilities are using these third-party vendors instead of us processing these payments ourselves. In theory, they're not able to access our names and addresses or anything like that. The transactions won't access that information. The only thing that it can access is my understanding, the account code and the confirmation whether or not the card was paid. Now, on the card side of it, I don't know. I'm sure they've got customer names and all that stuff, just like any other card processor would. So that kind of deal, I don't know how that's resolved. But what it boils down to is if there's a risk associated with it, the board will have to make a decision. With a risk, either you stay away from the risk or you insure yourself against it. That's the cost framework they gave us. They probably gave us those proposals based on the terms that they've given us to review. And, if we decide we want a little bit higher level of surety against that, we may have to pay a little more than what we planned on. We'll just have to see. I'd say wait, let their guys get with you and find out what you can, and then we'll go from there. You hear all that?
Yeah.
Okay. were originally gonna start up August 15th, and that's not gonna happen, so.
Okay.
Did you get a chance today, Roger, to review that paragraph 23 that had all the fees attached to it?
No, I did not, but I did the other day, Greg. I did look at all that, and that was in line with their original proposal.
Okay, well, they had about 2 pages of tiny print of various and sundry fees. And
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure that, you know, that you were aware of all of those and that they were acceptable.
yeah, based on what I was saying, it was in line, I think, what they originally discussed with.
Okay.
They'll start talk. Well, everybody else is hearing it.
Do what?
Okay, that was item 10. 11 is other items that people may have that they would like to bring forward. Does anyone have any additional items?
Can Donna hear us?
No, I have not heard. Again, this is just like last.
I can hear you just fine, everybody.
Yeah,
Heard
I
all
think
conversations.
Donna, she's not, we're gonna have to do something different. Next meeting, if we have to do this Zoom, I want to try to get Donna up here at City Hall on another PC so she can sit there and we can socially distance, but she won't have the internet locked up on.
That'd be good.
Locked up right now. I mean, that's what the problem is. Her broadband over at her house is not robust enough to support this, I don't think.
Apparently not.
Yeah, I see that
Well,
message pop up.
when we first started these Zoom meetings, I wasn't having a problem. Last month and this month, I have
Yeah.
2
So-
months in a row.
Donna, if we have to do another Zoom meeting, would it be all right if you came to City Hall and I put you on a PC up here? That way it won't lock up on. Yeah, it's locked up.
I think she's locked now.
Yeah.
Oh, there she's back.
You know, I'm running this meeting off of wireless Verizon, what I'm running on right now.
Well, we have Verizon and, you know, I didn't have a problem in the beginning when we started Zoom meetings.
Are you on the Wi-Fi or are you on Verizon wireless right now?
I don't know for sure.
Okay. But here's what I would, if we have to do another Zoom meeting, I can hook you up with a computer up here and we can socially distance and then you'll be able to participate better without the interruption on that. And we can get fixed up. I don't know what else. I don't know what's going on with the computer at home. But, Steve had the same problem. It's just in and out. It's just like it won't transmit enough.
He said I'm on Wi-Fi right now. Jim
Oh.
did.
Okay.
Maybe we need to put you on that.
So we might, of course, you got a brand new tablet, didn't you, Donna?
Yes, yes.
Do you have a wireless account with that tablet or is it just strictly Wi-Fi?
No,
No, we have wireless thing too,
we
yeah.
have Verizon and
Okay. You might be able to try the wireless side of it and see if it run better here while we're on the meeting. I don't know. But, you know, you'd have to probably get out of it, get back in it, you know.
Okay, see, I run Verizon and I'm on wireless too here, and I haven't had any issues. Donna might want to try moving relative to where the wireless is in her house. I know in our house, it really depends on where you are,
Yeah,
because those home wireless systems, they're not that robust, and you get a little piece of like a pipe or something in the way, and it can mess you all up.
How did, Roger, how'd the system handle all the water this weekend?
well, I think, we've not had any reportable overflow, and,
Awesome.
our treatment's been very good.
And the, housing project down there that the federal sewer system, are they doing okay? They causing us any problems?
No. No problem.
Good.
Stuff that was thrown in, when they put the grinder in it.
Yeah.
Load the same one. Now you're on just Verizon data.
So we on Verizon now, Donna?
Yes.
Good. So let's see how that works for a minute, just to see. We think your Wi-Fi may give you a little bit of problem. Paul said he's on Verizon Wireless, and he's right behind you over there.
No,
But the
I'm on Verizon, but I'm running on wireless in my house.
Okay.
Well, within our house, we have 3 hotspots, so. So
Well,
I got one like 10 feet from me.
when we first started these Zoom meetings, I was upstairs in the sunroom and I
Yeah.
wasn't having any trouble. And then last month, I was in the same location and I didn't hear most of the meeting. I moved downstairs closer to whatever. You know, I'm a dinosaur and I don't know a lot about all this high
I
tech.
don't either.
So, but then this month, it's been the same as last month because I didn't hear all of the conversation in the meeting, so.
This wireless that you're on right now seems to be working okay. Now, it's not super fast, but it seems to be stable. It hadn't locked you up yet.
No, it has not.
But like I say, next meeting, we'd be glad to have you up here, and I'll put you in front of a PC with a camera and stuff on it. And if you'd like to come up here, and that's what Steve did, because he just couldn't get his system to work down there at all, this place.
Well, if we continue to have to do this, I'll have to do something because I'm not hearing everything that's said in meetings. Yes,
We'll plan on doing that then.
and I'm sorry, but
That's all right. I mean, it's just the whole technology thing. I'm like you. I don't like it. I'd rather meet in person, and we intended on doing that until the governor came back and said, okay, we're going to whittle these meet. He wants to keep the groups down to 10 or less. And that just is not practical to have meet. The part that we have trouble with is we got to broadcast the meeting. And one of the things that I'll have Blair look at is we might be able to put it on Facebook Live and do it that way and still have the board down there in the room down there. But we got these requirements we got to comply with. So
well, I understand, and I'm sorry that I'm the problem.
no, that's fine. We're good.
Okay, does anybody have anything else?
Not that
I move that we, adjourn the meeting.
Do I
Second.
have a second? Oh,
Second.
Steve, second. Motion made. Any other comments? Okay, all those in
safe.
favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed. The meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks, Paul.
We'll get a pro to run it next time.